All right, what's going on, everyone? Got an article we're going to run through here called "An Abandoned Russian Base Holds Secrets of Retreat in Ukraine." And it's pretty interesting because this is Reuters getting into kind of an analysis of some actual documents that Russia left behind when they were pushed out of an area of eastern Ukraine over the last few weeks. I'm going to read some of these parts directly so we don't miss anything, but I will put a link to the article in the description so you can check it out if interested. So, getting started here, it says by the end of August, the documents show, the force was depleted, hit by death, desertions, and combat stress. Two units, accounting for about a sixth of the total force, were operating at 20% of their full strength. The documents also reveal increasing effectiveness of Ukraine's forces and offer clues to how the 8-month-old war might unfold, with Russia now under intense pressure on the southern front and around the Black Sea coast. In the weeks before the retreat, Russian forces around Balaklia, a town 90 kilometers south of Kharkiv, came under heavy bombardment from HIMARS rocket launchers recently supplied by the United States. The precision missiles repeatedly hit command posts. So the pictures I'm showing in here are each from that Reuters article that you can check out. There's more in there as well. It goes on. The Balaklia force included a commandant responsible for keeping the local civilian population in check. He oversaw at least one interrogation center where civilians were beaten and questioned using electric shocks, according to 6 former detainees and Ukrainian officials. Reuters verified the authenticity of the documents by visiting 5 abandoned military outposts in northeast Ukraine, whose coordinates were recorded in the cache. In each instance, local residents confirmed that Russian forces were stationed there. Reuters reporters also interviewed 5 soldiers who served in the Balaklia force and cross-checked details in the documents with a contemporaneous account kept by one of the Russian servicemen. Nothing's perfect. War is messy. I don't know that you can take everything in this report as 100% fact, but it does seem like they at least have tried to do their fact checking. It goes on to say, inside the command room, a Reuters reporter saw desks arranged in a rectangle, each bore a red name tape of a military section. Combat coordination, electronic warfare, intelligence, unmanned aerial equipment. The section commanders, including the commandant responsible for the civilian population, met here daily according to the rosters that were left amongst the papers. Reuters has identified at least 11 officers who attended these meetings. 5 of the officers, including Colonel Popov, the commander in the area, didn't respond for comment. The others couldn't be reached. Not crazy either way, right? There were lists of personnel showed that conscripts from the Russian-controlled Ukrainian region of Luhansk fought alongside men from Russia's 11th Army Corps. The soldiers scribbled on the walls of the base and put up flyers warning of Ukraine's descent into Nazi rule if they withdrew. And they brought with them old Soviet maps and listed posters on the wall admonishing the soldiers, do not smoke, do not drop litter, like we see here. Documents in the bunker show that Russian commanders understood the shortcomings of their force, which is interesting. On July 19th, an unnamed officer scribbled on the daily briefing a plea for drones to track the enemy. Quadcopters urgent, he said. Quadcopter drones are generally not military grade and can be bought in store and on the internet. The Balaklia force finally took receipt of 3 off-the-shelf quadcopter drones on July 20th. They weren't ready to fly, however, because their software wasn't yet installed. Ukrainian forces, meanwhile, were busy flying drones over Russian positions. Their task made all the easier because 2 of the Russian forces' 3 jamming devices were out of action in need of repair, according to a note on the report by the Electronic Warfare Unit. So Russia does have that capability, but they just appear to not be working, at least in this area at that time. It goes on. The daily report of July 21st contained even more alarming news for Colonel Popov, the commander of the Balaklia force. Russian intelligence agency, the FSB, had learned that Ukrainian forces were bringing to the area 3 highly accurate HIMARS missile launchers supplied by the United States, and Ukraine had pinpointed the locations of Russian command posts and 4 warehouses that were being used by the Balaklia force. It's not good news. Not good news for the Russians. Around that same time, Russian military electronics experts arrived in Balaklia, wanting to see if Russia's Pol 21 system for jamming satellite navigation would have any effect on the HIMARS missiles. Whatever the outcome, the Ukrainian strikes continued. Interviews with Russian service members, relatives of dead soldiers, and local residents indicated that at least 3 Russian command posts in northeast Ukraine were hit by HIMARS missiles in the weeks that followed. Faced with increased Ukrainian attacks, the Balaklia command set about drafting more troops. I don't know if that's from the local population or what they mean by that. According to daily reports and records in the staff officer's handbook, yet a spreadsheet dated August 30th showed that the force was at only 71% of full strength. Not crazy, not good, but not crazy. Some units were far worse off, according to the same spreadsheet. The 2nd Assault Battalion had 49 personnel. It should have had 240. The 9th BARS Brigade, BARS Brigade, an irregular unit, was at 23% of its intended manpower. So 71% could be worse. 23% is awful. Goes on to say a spreadsheet at the Balaklia bunker showed a typical Russian sergeant was paid, go ahead and do the conversion here, $3,200 a month in salary plus bonuses, while a sergeant in the separatist force received just $1,400. So less than half the pay for a sergeant in the separatist force compared to a regular, typical Army sergeant. The head of the Luhansk flamethrower company recorded in one document that 8 of his subordinates had previous convictions, including 1 man for rape and sexual assault. So it goes on. There were no supplies of munitions or drones, quote, he said of the situation in late August. This is one of the Russian soldiers is interviewed. Ukrainian forces mounted attacks, but, quote, our artillery was not working in response. And it wraps up with the Ukrainian counterattack going into full swing, saying Ukraine's counteroffensive began in earnest on September 6th. A Russian soldier that day told Reuters that Ukraine first attacked Russian positions with artillery. By the evening, Ukrainian forces had outflanked them. At that point, the order was given to retreat to the village, he said. The battle continued. Between September 6th and 8th, precision strikes hit the command center in Balaklia. Natalia and Victor, an elderly couple who lived less than 300 meters from the bunker, said they heard constant Ukrainian strikes in the final days of the occupation. When the attacks ceased on the 8th, the couple saw 30 soldiers, many of them wounded, limping along the road in retreat. 2 other residents said they saw Russian soldiers throw away their guns and abandon their vehicles as they ran away. So again, this is a mix of interviews from civilians that are in the area throughout the occupation. They're still there today. Russian soldiers that fought in the area, as well as collections from documents, notebooks, and personal belongings that the Russian soldiers left when they fled this area in northeastern Ukraine. Interesting insight as to what's going on within the Russian military, at least a snippet within this one-off organization. If you want to take a look at the full article, the link is in the description below. Worth a read, not too awful long, but that'll do it for now. We'll see you all next time.